I found an amazing batch of Himalayan quartz crystals that I forgot that I had. So today I will be making a pendulum out of this. I will be using my trusty 4 tools, flush cutters, tweezer nose pliers, flat nose pliers, and nylon nose pliers. For the wire, I have 20 gauge square copper wire, 22 gauge half round wire. This is all dead soft. And 28 gauge round wire that I put on a little spool. I have links to any of the tools that I use or little extras in my profile link. I do get a small commission if you purchase from that link. For a pendulum, we need quite a bit of extra wire at the top. We will weave and then wind around the crystal, which they tend to be a little thicker. So you want quite a bit of extra wire at the top, room for your crystal, and then that same amount on this side. I don't really measure. This is probably it's almost 2 feet, 24 inches. And then take your nylon pliers and give that a run through. Smooth that out a little bit. When you pull the wire through the nylon pliers, if you do that a few times, quite a few times, your wire will get a little stronger. It's called work hardening. It won't get a whole lot harder, but it'll help maintain the shape a little better. First up, we're going to prepare the bottom wires for the tip of the pendulum. I have approximately 21 inches of square dead soft copper wire and about 3.5 inches of 22 gauge half round wire. Find the approximate center of the wire. Take one of those half round lengths and just wrap it around the 3 square wires. I'm going to do about 6 wraps or more if your crystal is larger. Okay. Now snip off that wire in the center of the 3 square wires. And you want to make sure that this will be on the inside so that nobody will get scratched. Take your flat nose pliers and just squeeze that down, but leave it loose enough that you can move it. I repeated the same thing with the half round wire again, leaving a gap between, and we will actually pull those apart, and we are going to bend the wire down here. Using flat nose pliers, get your approximate center, bend into, lost it, into a V. Okay, so next I'm going to take the center of the 3 wires here and I'm going to pull that out. I'm going to use the tweezer nose to separate that just a little bit and pull that center one out like so. So this will serve as our tip and our crystal will go in there. I moved the half round wire down, not quite all of the way, and now I'll use the flat nose pliers and squeeze those. And now our stone should fit nicely. You can tweak it a little bit. Now's the time to tweak. Now you squeeze the wires together. Make sure they're not tangled. And we want some extra room because we will coil our weave down. Take your tweezer nose pliers and squeeze those together. Okay, now we take our 28 gauge round wire and tie these together. So wrap it around all of the wires. And then tuck it inside and snip it off where the end of the wire will be inside. Give that a little squish. Okay, next we will take the back wire and the front wire. Bend those out of the way, leaving the center. Do that on the opposite side as well. So that you have the two center wires that will be our veil. For a pendulum, I do not weave. I just make a bow out of the two center wires. To make the bail, I am going to use a tuning fork. You can use a pen. The only pens I had were a little too big, so anything that's round will do. Just wrap it around. Okay, you want this to be center so that the pendulum swings correctly. So I take the tweezer nose and just squeeze them together so they're more in the center. Next, I have the 28 gauge round wire that I kept attached, and you just go around and fasten the bail wires together and keep this because we're going to do the weave of one side with it. Now we will deal with the two wires that come from our bail. I'm going to push those through the hole and then come on the other side and pull them out like so. Get this out of the way. Okay, we're going to come up. Okay, they're a little bit bent. We'll deal with that in a minute. We're taking each side, bringing it around like so. Take our flat nose pliers and just flatten that a little bit right there. And we'll do the same on this side. Now, that doesn't have to look perfect. This will all be hidden. Okay, next we're going to set our stone and use these 2 wires to secure it firmly in place. First thing you want to do is make sure that, well, you pick a side. One side will look better than the other. So this side's a little more crooked. So we'll use this side for the front and the other side for the rear. And we will tweak it once we get the stone in, so both sides will eventually look good. Okay. Take your wires apart just a little bit with your fingernails, or a ruler or something thin. Okay, next we are going to go in between the front and the center wire, going down as close as we can to this and bend it in. And do the same on this side. So, and I will come in and tweak that once I get the back done. You want to get the stone so you can, it'll hold while you work with it and tweak it. Sorry, I keep hitting with all these wires. Okay, here's where you do tweaking. You want to make sure that you have the stone securely in place, and each stone is just a tad different, so in every instance you'll have to figure out what works based on the shapes and the faces and whatnot of the stone. Make sure you have good coverage. We will be using all of these wires to hold the stone better in place, but you want it to be around, the side pieces to be around a good portion of the crystal. You also want to check that where your bail is roughly in the center so that it balances. Next, we will take these 2 wires and just wrap around. A few times. Okay, I've wrapped the bottom, one of the 2 wires that came out from the sides, all the way around going down. And I am going to secure it in between these 2 wires. And secure that in place. I secured the wire going into one of these, between these 2 wires, so that it just holds the stone in place a lot better. And then I have this wire, which I went around twice, and I will go around one more time maybe twice. And then we will cut that right there. Tuck it. Just squeeze it down. And this will be covered by our weaves. Okay, weaving time. We are going to be weaving 2 of the wires together, and the other 2 wires we will just use as they are. Maybe we'll twist one. So we're going to go around both of the wires twice, and then we're going to go around. Just going to bend that a little bit so it's easier to go between. I'm going to go around the bottom wire and in between the 2 3 times. 2, 3, and then around both wires twice. And around the bottom wire 3 times. It's a little bit tricky at the beginning because you're wrapping around all that wire, but once you get away from this area, it goes smoothly. Okay, I'm just going to continue that. Just continuing our weave. Going over both wires twice. And then, oops, I just pulled that a little too hard. Then around the bottom wire 3 times. So the goal here is to weave a long enough length that we can coil this around these in between, and we want to go from like here down here. So if you think you don't need this whole amount, you can cut some of this because it is a little difficult to work with such long wires. I'm going to go a little bit longer because I'm not quite sure how much. This is a pretty wide crystal at the top, so I'm just going to go before I cut anything, because once you cut it, you can't get it back. Okay, before I go much further, I take the flat nose, give everything a good squeeze. Be sure that you have pushed everything this way before you flatten. Smooth. This will be, see, I feel something right there. See, I missed. Oh, darn it. I crossed my wires right there. I don't know if you can see it, but I can feel it. So, I don't know if you can see that right there. I crossed over one of the 2 wires. And so you can feel it, and I'm going to try to fix it, and if not, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. But I'm going to try to pull the wires apart and slide that over the wire that I crossed. And the trouble is I can't see because my glasses aren't strong enough. Okay, I think I have it. Yes, so I got it uncrossed. Now push this back together. Okay, it's not perfect, but it's back in place. It's better than it was. Let's see. Okay, here we go. I just have a little extra wire there, so it's not perfect, but you know what? Most every pendant I do has a little thing like that. Usually, I'm the only one that knows. Nobody really notices it, even though I beat myself up. Other people really don't notice a little thing like that. Actually, I got it fixed pretty good. When you think you have enough wire or enough of a weave, do about 5 or 6 more, because it's easier to maintain the tension when you're going this way than if you start to form it and then you find out that you don't have enough. You still leave this attached so you can fix it, but it's kind of hard to recreate the same tension as what you're doing all at once. So, you know, it's better to have a little extra that you can take apart than have something kind of wonky because you had to fudge it because you didn't have enough. Okay, here we go. All right, let's give it a squeeze. Squeeze it down. Okay. And we will still leave this attached just in case we don't have enough. And while we were working on the weave, these wires got a little bit wrinkled. So we will take our nylon pliers and just straighten those out. And I am going to twist this one. Just take your pliers, and it's going to be a little difficult with all this wire, so for this stone we have about 3.5 inches of weave, and we will see if that's enough. I've got the wire twisted, one wire is twisted and one is just smooth. Okay, before we start wrapping, you want to make sure your stone is still in the center. Okay, so let's take the weave and bring it around. We're going to bring this one and this one. We want to go in the same direction. Okay, so we've pulled them around the front. And we will go other two. Okay, so I have these to go around, and in looking, I think this is where I will tuck these wires in. So we are only short maybe 4 or 5 additional weaves, so that's not bad. So I'm just continuing with the 2 around both wires, and then the 3 on the bottom wire. And I'm just going to do that a couple of times. And maybe a couple more. Okay, yeah, we're going to tuck it in here, so that is plenty. So I will snip this so that the loose wire is on the inside. Squeeze that a little bit. Going to snip those, leaving about 1/2 inch. No, not that much. Maybe 1/4. There we go. And then we'll tuck these right in against this wire here. Tighten that up. No, that stone's not going anywhere. All right. Now the finishing touches. Come around and finish this off. I just decided to do a little loop here. And then I'm going to come up and I'm going to tuck it in between this wire and hold that in place. Okay, the final wire I am going to tuck in between the first and second wires. One more step, and the last thing that I do is bring this to more of a point, and I just use these and there we have it. And pendulum, I will attach a chain here, and I'll make like a little finger loop for it so it'll be comfortable. And that's that.